Hi, I'm Brian Chrisman. I'm the author of an ongoing series called A Kierkegaardian Reading of the Gospel of Mark. Now, why do I think it's a good idea to read the Gospel of Mark according to Kierkegaard or through a Kierkegaardian lens? Well, I think let's say these two things, the Gospel of Mark and Kierkegaard. Let's say the Gospel of Mark represents truth, God's truth. Well, so let's just picture ourselves in relation to truth, whatever we consider truth, just truth in general. Do we just know the truth and then we just do it? We just live by the truth? If we think that, we're pretty naive. Humans do not live by truth. They might think things are true and they may live completely differently than that. It depends on their values, on how they view their self, how they view their self in relation to others, how they view themselves in relation to politics, the government, society, how they view themselves in relation to the world, to nature, to God. So truth is one thing, how we live in relation to truth is another. And that's where Kierkegaard comes in. Kierkegaard was a genius of the human condition who, before Freud, he saw that there's this iceberg beneath this depth psychology of what human beings are and what they do in relation to truth. So to take Kierkegaard, who was kind of an expert on how we ourselves, that relate ourselves to ourself and to others and to God and to truth, basically how we live in these relations, these layers of relation. That's what human beings are. So it's much more complicated than just there's truth and then there's just we who live and do truth. There's truth and there's humans, and in between is how we relate ourselves to the truth. And that's how Kierkegaard helps to inform the reading of the Gospel of Mark, the entire Bible actually, but the Gospel of Mark is what I'm focusing on. And actually what you find when you combine these two, truth and how we relate ourselves to truth, according to Kierkegaard, we find that the Gospel of Mark has the same perspective. The Gospel itself shows that same depth psychology, that same knowledge of human beings and how we live in relation to truth or don't live in relation to truth, and why. It gets into that deeper realm in which, many of us are mysteries to ourselves and we'd like it to remain that way so we can do whatever we want. Well, that's not living according to truth. That's not living according to the gospel. And the gospel is the good news that we can have healed relations or restored relations to truth, to God, to ourselves, to others, through the gospel, through the God-man who Kierkegaard called the paradox, Jesus, God and man combined in the flesh. The Word of God come in the flesh, that through that revelation of God, through that person, God coming in the flesh, we can have a restored relationship to the truth in all these different forms in which it is. We tend to prioritize scientific truth, but there's scientific truth, but then these people that come up with the scientific truth, how do they live in relation to scientific truth? That's been especially more and more of a potent question as man has discovered basically how to annihilate himself and the world itself through nuclear fission and through the secrets of the atom and things like that. Well, we've discovered that knowledge and truth is dangerous if, depending on the one who knows that truth and how he uses that truth, how he relates himself to that truth. So I see Kierkegaard as a modern person who knew how humans relate to truth, and he can bring that to bear upon understanding the revelation of God to humans and how we should live. So that's basically why I see this as a valuable enterprise. Thank you.